First show DNF'd. Are you proud of me? You proud of me? You should be. It's almost the same size as my Tamagotchi. Or two Tamagotchis. Okay. Does my hair look weird today? No? We're good, right? We're good? Hi, here with some book updates. We finished 2 over the past few days. I'm going to start with this one, In the Face of War by Yevgenia Belorusets. It's Yevgenia Belorusets' diary entries, counting the war in Ukraine at the moment, from February to April. Devastating, devastating read. 840 dead children, still counting. How photography, even though when we think of photography, we think, oh, we need to see like scenes of the war to understand how terrible it is, that it could be quite dangerous. It could be picked up by like Russian intelligence and sort of map out where people still are and kill them. Like at this point, having read this account, and let me tell you, it is so odd to be reading an account so real and so now. Like usually when I read accounts like this, there's like an amount of distance between, like time, I guess, and I guess location as well. But having read this and seeing the photographs that she has in here of her experience throughout this time, it's chilling. How many lives are lost, how much fear there is, how much despair in a place that is quite peaceful. But amongst all of this despair, she does enlighten us with moments of such joy. Like for Women's Day, she caught sight of so many women receiving flowers, and I thought that was beautiful. Or about a moment where there was like a raid happening, and that day her friend invited her to see his art show at this gallery that was only open for a day, but she couldn't leave her house. So instead, he saved the gallery day, like he saved the show for one day more just for her and let her see the show. And yeah, to see art in the middle of all of this anxious-ridden moment in history, I don't know, brings so much hope, beauty, joy. There's another account with a man who opens a cafe, or opens his cafe back up because he feels that's the only thing he can do, the only thing he feels that he must do, and then almost forgets that it's his birthday that day. And she talks about this extreme happiness when her daily mission is to go to a coffee kiosk or try to find one that's open, and the immense joy she has when she actually has that cup of coffee in her hands. And yeah, I mean, it truly is about the simple things in life. We have so much to be grateful for, and it's really devastating to know that like the war is still ongoing. She started this diary thinking it would last only a few days, but here she is like grueling week after week, and now months after months, and it's almost the end of the year. It's really terrible. Near the end of the book, she admits that my grief was much stronger than my fear. And in another moment, I don't want to write a last sentence. Every day we encounter our choices. To lead people to think that they're at their last sentence, living their daily life like that is like those 840 children. So many futures, so many dreams, imagination, gone. I can't fathom. I can't fathom. Incredibly important work. If there's something you need to read in 2022, it's this. Please read this by Lonelier books. I've talked about them before, love them. This book is literally like, I don't know how to size compare this, but it's small. It's small. It's almost the same size as my Tamagotchi, or 2 Tamagotchis. Insane. They do very interesting work, interesting publications and voices. Definitely recommend this. After that, I finished Alfian's second collection of plays, titled The Asian Boys Trilogy. We have Dream Play, Landmarks, and Happy Endings. My first venture into plays in a really long time. The queer scene in Singapore, early 80s, 90s. Well, I'll get to that because the first play, Dream Play, is about this alien lady who goes down to this like drag queen pageant and follows this boy around, and they jump and leap through different time periods of gay moments in history through personal accounts throughout time, and sort of look at the violence against queer bodies and the humor and joy of what it means to be gay in different time periods. Really fun, totally camp. I feel like it is an incredibly great like 101 crash course into gay Singaporean lingo. The amount of times I had to like leap to the back, there's a glossary of like gay lingo. Yeah, back and forth, back and forth. By the end of the play, I felt like it was also carnivalesque in the way that it feels like an annual showing of Paris is Burning. You know, at the Castro with fan snaps and off pitches, yes. That kind of thing. If anyone's ever been to the Castro Theater, I wonder if it's still there. Is also a good question. But I remember, I think my first year moving to San Francisco, little tween that I was, saw Paris is Burning on the big screen, 35mm. Incredible. The crowd. Peaches Christ, I think, opened the show. Yes, I think that's right. But incredible. Yeah, definitely popped my cherry. After that, there is Landmarks, which I think was my favorite out of the bunch. There are sort of these vignettes of gay scenes in different gay settings with different gay caricatures. Like there's one story where there's an older gentleman and a younger kid at a sauna and their interaction. There's one between two call boys who are in a relationship with each other, and they're asked to have sex in front of a client, but the client doesn't know that they're together, so they talk about love and how to go in pretending that they don't know each other and having sex as if they're doing it for the first time with each other as strangers. Sex as strangers when you're like in a deep relationship with someone. Just really, really interesting stories in Landmarks. That's the second play. Yeah, and I just felt like there was just the right amount of like humor, drama, incredible lines, and I could like almost feel and breathe the performance through the lines, which I love about a play, because that's when I feel like a writer is really doing their job as a writer. Like, I want to say my favorite play to read is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Incredible, incredible. Those lines, the way that they attack each other, they're alive. Those lines are alive. They're beyond the character. They're just so punchy. I love it. And then, yes, the last play is Happy Endings, which is a bit difficult to describe, but it's about this writer who talks to his muse and sort of runs this novel inspired by the muse and runs this novel by him through his characters, and then his characters like come off the page and they become real, and that's the whole play. And then you see the younger selves of these characters. It's like incredibly meta. I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but it's something I wish I saw on stage. It's one of those plays. Like, Landmarks feels like you can just read it and it's fine, and the viewing experience of it would probably like take it up to 110%, but Happy Endings feels like viewing of the play is required. Yeah, it gets incredibly meta about writer and his characters and how he interacts with his characters, how he interacts with his muse, as if they're like real people as well within the play. It's insane. Beautiful mind, Alfian Saad, creating this. but I feel like it loses steam in the last act, where I find that his characters ultimately become caricatures because, I don't know, I felt like the themes were less strong in Happy Endings than they were in Landmarks. I feel like Happy Endings dwells in past love, lost love, and how we reclaim it in our private ways. It was good. It was dramatic. Okay, let me break this down. Dream Play, the first play, totally camp. Landmarks, the second one, great. It's catty, it's theatrical, and it's moving. Hits all the right beats. Happy Endings, definitely a dramatic piece, and it was all right. But very glad to have picked this up and finally read it. I've had this for like 2 years, I think, and I hadn't read it, but so glad I did. I'm really excited to read Volume 1, his collected plays one. Yeah, incredible. The closet, everything in it and outside of it is universal. I think I felt a bit alienated in Dream Play, having to flip back and forth and finding out what all of this language means. But that's okay. It was a very great learning experience. But yeah, universal language. Gay is a universal language, let me tell ya. And then as my next read, I'm deciding to stay in Singapore and read Daryl Yam's Lovelier, Lonelier. I just started, 30 pages in, about 4 friends, Isaac, Tori, Jing, and Mateo. Right now, we're recounting their experience in Japan. One character, I think it's Mateo, who sees fireworks, but only he can see them and not his friends. Not quite sure where that's going. The characters speak almost as if we're in a dream. It's almost nonsensical to a point, and there's an incredible amount of distance. They're not saying a lot of stuff, and I don't necessarily know what's going on, essentially. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay right now. I think it's just way too early to tell where this book is headed anyway. So yes, Lovelier, Lonelier. It is a big one. It's 400 pages. I feel like I haven't done a big book in a while, and not that I'm dreading it already, it's just big book. I'm glad this is quite floppy though. It's not terribly heavy. Totally forgot, would anyone like movie TV updates? I recently finished, or I'm all caught up with Industry on HBO, season 2. It's a more dramatic Wolf on Wall Street. I think it's all right. Very sexy. Makes Wall Street look sexy. Love all the ways in how people are violent towards each other. Even if it doesn't hurt, even if it's not physical violence, but just this violence in human nature where everything becomes animalistic. It's gross. Love it. Then I tried to watch Good Trouble. My friend urged me to watch it because he said it's daytime television for millennials, and I was like, interesting. I'll take a look at it. Watched the first 3 episodes of season 1. Did not like it at all. I didn't care about the characters. Set in LA and I don't know. It felt like these writers wrote about LA having not been from LA and don't live in LA. Yeah, it was odd. Just the character dynamics, just very odd. And then I was like, I can't do this. So I skipped to the last season, tried out the first episode, and was still tonally the same. And I was just like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. So first show DNF'd. Are you proud of me? You proud of me? You should be. Yeah, Good Trouble. Very odd. If you're looking for post-grad millennials trying to make a living in LA, sexing the way through life, there you go. I guess. Yeah, just didn't maintain my curiosity enough. Then I took a recommendation from Bibliosophie for Reservation Dogs, about these There are these reservation kids who are in a gang and are trying to escape their shitty little town by stealing things, pawning stuff off, and trying to make quick bucks to get to LA. Funny. It's incredibly funny, rich in its like own identity and quirky. It's great. Yeah, I like it. I'm on episode 4 of season 1, and yeah, I don't know. Everything about it is just really lovable. We are still watching Seinfeld. I just feel like it's one of those shows that just never end, you know? Then I watched Emotion, this short film, about 45 minutes, I believe. Japanese short film, totally wacky. It feels very Nouvelle Vague with like, I don't know, there's no form to it. The way the film is cut up and edited, it doesn't, not done in any chronological order. It's, yeah, incredibly, wow, now that I think about it, it's quite hard to describe. But it's like a vampire story, very loose story on a vampire, trekking the histories of a girl and her friendship with this girl and her family history. Very odd, but such a refreshing watch. I like film where film is deconstructed, and here it's completely deconstructed. You get simply images, moving pictures, and incredible sound design. That's weird. I don't know how else to describe it. It's short, worth your time. It's on YouTube, all of it. I'll link it downstairs, but very odd. If you have like 40 minutes to spare, very odd. And if you like that stuff, experimental filmmaking. Then I watched another Japanese experimental film, only because I've seen it on TikTok and Instagram months back, and I was like, I want to watch this. Let me give it some time. But it's Kagero-za, which I don't even know to tell you what it's about, but it's basically kabuki in film format where you don't know if the characters are alive, dead, both, if it's heaven, if it's hell, if it's the real world. Just like the opening scene, this man is standing on the side of the road, and the way that the lighting works, everything feels like a stage play, and it feels like a giant stage play. But the visuals for the film are incredible. But it's like scene after scene of nonsense. Like I didn't know what was going on throughout the entire film. It gets philosophical, it gets metaphysical. I really don't know how to describe it either. It was quite an experience. And maybe too long for my taste. I feel like when you delve into the metaphysical and it's done for so long, your audience loses interest because you're way too off the ground. If there isn't any moment for the viewer or the reader to touch ground, then their interest flies out of the window. Plain and simple. You have to keep someone grounded. The Japanese director, I forgot his name, famously says, I like to make movies that make no sense and no money. Yeah, this reminded, like the whole experience of the film reminded me a lot of my recent reading experience of Magda Carnesi's Femme. Like that one is also just trapped in human consciousness, so there's rarely any physical element of being on the ground, and thus you're lost and you don't enjoy it, sadly enough. If anything, those kinds of works require like some kind of intermission. Like if anyone's seen Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, love the, I think it's 15 minutes of intermission of like trippy, what is it? I think you're like trapped between two, what do you call like the levels of the earth? And then there's earthquakes and there's like shifting plates. Anyways, the intermission is like two plates coming together, I think, with like acid trip colors. I think that is what 2001: Space Odyssey does, right? Yeah, but it needs that. because it's way too long. If something's way too long like that, you need an intermission. I'm sorry. Those are my viewing experiences. Let me know what you're watching. What's a movie you recently watched that you enjoyed that I should watch? Okay. Be well, do good work, keep in touch. Back at it again with the dirty mirrors. We are meeting a very special guest today. You're gonna have to wait and see. You're gonna have to wait and see. Yes, but meeting a very special person today. Gonna do some things today. Yeah, I'm sorry. My mind is still on this fit. I don't know if it's doing anything. It just looks very odd. I might have to change. Ooh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But yes, Uniqlo You bum bag. Actually, I think this season, fall, winter 2022, they're going to do a few different colors, and I really want it in like this cream white. Can you imagine that? Cream white, this baby. Our Legacy, this sweater from one of those neighbor shops. I don't know, I thought it was interesting, but it's giving like, who did the costume design for Star Wars? And purple pants from some neighbor store as well. Yeah, let's go. Oh, book of the day is Lovelier, Lonelier. Bring this bad boy out. We're about, 60 pages so far. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of bopping around the world. Really shows insight to how well-traveled Daryl is with his time in Japan and New York. We are learning about Mateo and how he meets Daniel, this lover of sorts. Sort of a mystery at the moment. We are not quite sure what's going on, but they have a moment at the MoMA, a little cruising, and then the scene cuts off. It's weird how, well, it's not weird. The book just jumps to different time periods, so it's very discombobulated. It's hard to follow along sometimes to what people are saying and what's going on at times, because it's very Sally Rooney-esque where there's no quotation marks and it's all done in the third person, so really hard to track who's who and who's speaking at times, because there's like 4 characters as well, so it's tough. But I'm enjoying it. Yeah, the writing style's very mysterious, engrossing, and just makes you want to like flip the pages. It's not that it's a page turner, it's just feels like you're descending into this deep hole. It's like having your eyes adjusted to the dark and you're waiting for that moment when your eyes do adjust. I'm sorry, this is a super long intro. Usually these intros are not that long, but let's go.
In the backyard of your old farm in the summer, stayed there for 3 weeks where we learned to love each other. Wrote you letters, sent a message to the goddamn. Skip to the present, haven't been so happy ever. Sitting in your room, working on my first record. Skip to the present, and I still haven't released it. But it's okay, 'cause the new songs are way better. That's what it feels like, haven't been so happy ever. I'm watching you sit there with our best friends at the wedding.
Library card. I discovered Libby.
I'll eat movies and books. I just wish there was like a buffet. I guess that's what Netflix is, you know, just like this buffet of content that you can just constantly consume, skip credits, move on to the next thing, binge. Buffet, a visual buffet. A buffet of visual delights. Would love that for books too. I guess that's what a library is.